In case you didn't realize from the cover art, this is DanMachi 2 essentially, except this time we're going to be focusing more on Eyes Wallenstein, I believe her name is, instead of Belle. And the show isn't going to be too much different despite that, because Belle's story wasn't particularly directed. It didn't really go anywhere. It was just kind of his journey, or what it really was an introduction to the setting and the plot. And it laid some decent groundwork for the story moving forward. Unfortunately, in this second season, I guess you could say, it's a spin-off, but it's actually like an official series, at least manga-wise, or manga-wise, because it's got quite a few chapters. I believe, let me figure out real quick. So the side story, or second season, whatever the hell you want to call it, has about, at least to my knowledge, at least 33 chapters right now. DanMachi, on the other hand, has, to my knowledge, wow, almost 70 chapters. Okay, so with DanMachi, I need to catch up on, because I am apparently extremely behind. Yeah, okay, anyway, kind of going back, the first season, at least the anime of it, kind of left off with Belle killing Goliath, or whatever his name was. The giant fucking monster that's on the 18th floor, I believe. That was on the lower floors, and this time we're following the main, not the main, but one of the main expedition forces, being Loki's guild. But the head, instead of this time, is a real official guild. Instead of just Hestia, it's under the protection of the god Loki, who is a woman this time, but whatever, fine. And this time it's a lot more... It's different because instead of the usual Belle... I mean, okay, a big part of the first season was literally every woman finding Belle, like, attractive, and nothing happened from there, but whatever. Whatever. That was... Belle's story was very, very harem, and there really was no focus. There was the goal of him getting stronger, but, I mean, to him, it's weird. Like, yes, he got better, but it was just kind of like, oh, congratulations. Like, he didn't do anything particularly amazing except for kill one or two monsters. Whereas everyone else has done that. Like, at least in this story, like, the main characters have done so much more than him and seen a lot less returns, which is, I guess, really important to who he is. But it feels kind of shallow, I guess. It doesn't feel right. Because, like, everyone else is working super fucking hard, and then Belle just kind of gets everything, and it's really, really dumb. Am I getting off track? Probably. Anyway, the story this time is going to focus around Eyes? Fucking Christ, what's her name? It's Ice Wallenstein, who is, I guess you could say she's the main heroine in the story. It's more of her tight-knit circle, and including that Dick Wolf guy, whose name isn't even important. He's actually surprisingly a side character, despite being one of the main cast, and on the cover art. But her story is kind of more... I guess the best way to put it is her story runs alongside Belle's. It actually overlaps quite a bit, so you're going to see a lot of the scenes you have already seen. Fuck. But anyway, you're not going to see too much new, except you're going to see it from a different perspective, which is actually kind of nice, because she's relatively more interesting than Belle, but she's kind of that quiet, not shy, but just quiet kind of character type. I don't know what... I know there's a term for it, I just can't remember what exactly it is. I'm too lazy to Google it, but that's pretty much her character type in a nutshell. She's very quiet, she's very reserved, she's kind of dopey, but she's very headstrong. Whereas Belle is kind of just an idiot. He doesn't really have a personality. He's really one of those generic plot... He's like a Mary Sue almost, except... Yeah, he really is a Mary Sue. Fuck. Anyway, her group is a lot more interesting because there's more characters than just fucking Belle. And now that we actually know some of the setting, we kind of get to look more at the dungeon, which is very, very... Well, I wouldn't say... Okay. It seems interesting. Like, there's clearly a diverse ecosystem, and the dungeon itself is kind of... It's interesting. It has a lot to it, we just don't know much about it. I wouldn't say... It's not in the same tier as, like, Dungeon Meshi, which has an incredibly diverse ecosystem, and everything's very fleshed out and interesting, and there's really, really unique things going on there. But it seems to have there's some similarities between the two, where... like, different factions are fighting, or not different, like, different species are cohabiting and existing, even though the dungeon seems to be a lot more alive, and kind of, it's more cohesive. It's more cohesive. It's cohesive to a degree, but there's kind of, like, this whole weird system where the monsters just kind of appear out of the walls, and there's a weird, like, game cyclical logical, like a spawn rate almost, to some of them, and it's weird. I don't know how to put it. It's just kind of weird. it has the potential to be something interesting. I just don't know how far they're going to go into it, because they've delved, at least in the story I'm reading right now, they've delved into it a bit, they just haven't really fleshed it out properly, and that's, I guess, frustrating, because it's really the most interesting point about this show, and it's kind of the central focus. It brought all these people into the same, it's the setting, I mean, fuck, okay, anyway, I feel like I got off track. What the hell was I even talking about? Oh yeah, the characters this time we're going to focus more on Ai's and her group, which is consisted mostly of women, actually. You have kind of a weird dynamic. Like, there's some good characters and there's some bad ones. Like, the wolf dude's just shitty, aggressive, dumb. That's literally his, and obnoxious and loud. That's literally his personality type. Ai's is very reserved and quiet, but very determined for whatever reason, even though we don't really know what her motivation is, which is kind of weird. Even Belle kind of lacked a motivation, but both of them are just, I want to be the very best, and it's kind of fucking, it's dumb. There's no reason for them to do it, they just want it, and it's fucking stupid, because compared to everyone else in the show, they're fucking god tier, like, they're amazing, and no one else even comes close, and it's really frustrating, because it's just, there's just like so much plot armor, it's super noticeable, and it's dumb. It's really dumb. Who else is in the party? You have this shy elf girl, who fits literally every stereotype you could put on fantasy elves. It's pretty bad. You have two Amazons, which are a nice change. I haven't seen that in a while in a story, so it's nice. One is kind of just your headstrong, whatever, dumb. The other one's still pretty dumb, but has like a super interested in the captain leader. Captain leader? What the hell is his role? His name? They call him captain, but he's not the head of the guild, because that is Loki. So I guess he's second in command, I guess? Even though he's the captain, I guess. What am I saying? Yeah, let's just call him the captain. That seems a lot easier. Why the fuck am I discussing this? The captain is actually the most interesting character in the story, because even though he's not on screen very often, and I don't think they'll flesh him out much more, he actually has a backstory. Like, no one else gets that. He kind of fits the same role as Loki, like... Or not Loki, fuck, what am I saying? Levi from Titan, like, shit past, some actual, like, weird, how do I put this? Like, his backstory is as follows. It's, he's from a lesser race, hobbits, pretty well known, easy to understand, so, pretty weak, small in stature, doesn't really have much going for him, except his whole, like, species is kind of depressed, because... during the descent, this is like actually some backstory that's interesting and integral to the story. During the descent of the gods, like Loki and Hestia and all the other ones that are there, even though they don't, like Dionysus, which barely fucking shows up. During the descent, it kind of disproved a lot of the theology that was existing in the world beforehand. This caused like huge waves in the communities. Like the hobbits were extremely heavily hit because their god never showed up. So they said, fuck it, it's fake, and they all fell into a depression, and they all just kind of suffered for this, and there's a huge decline in the race. What the fuck's his name? Oh god, what is his name? I'm gonna figure it out. What the hell's the captain's name? Finn. Damn it, I knew that. So the captain's name is Finn. So Finn's whole race is kind of in a decline, like a very serious decline, where there is a mention of like drugs, and like it's mentioned that there's like very heavy, there's several drugs that are kind of floating around in the above the dungeon, where they're extremely addictive, of course, and it's causing like a lot of decline, and to kind of deal with the loss of their god, they have turned to this, which is a very bad decision, of course, but they're kind of suffering from like a huge decline. Like the whole population is just kind of in the gutter right now, and no one, on top of being kind of weak, they lost their faith, and there's really nothing pushing them forward except for Finn, who's kind of taken up the mantle and is kind of working to restore his own race back to a better place. So he's interesting. He actually has a real backstory, which is extremely different from everyone else in the entire show, and I guess he kind of fits into that weird like Shota role. I mean, he has a lot of comparisons. There's a lot of characters that do similar things to him. He's kind of like a less edgy Marito for Gunnar Clover, which is a dumb character, but he's an interesting character. I wouldn't say he's fully fleshed out or even at the point where he's well written, but it's significantly more despite his lack of screen time. And he's just overall fine. He's probably the best thing in the show so far. And then who else the fuck is there? There's his second in command, who is another elf, which is a lot more motherly and caring. She doesn't show up much. There's a gnome? No, it's not a gnome. There's a dwarf, but he never shows up either. And yeah, that's pretty much it. It's a very, compared to Belle's story, there's a lot more like women interaction versus, it's kind of like a girls club versus Belle's harem, which is a nice, I guess a nice change. You're still gonna get a lot of fan service just because that's how this author does. That's one of the main appeals of this show, unfortunately. It's far from terrible. Like, the show overall knows what it wants to be, and it's doing it relatively well. It's kind of it's blending fantasy and some of the like dungeoning things we've seen in recent years, and it's introducing a bunch of characters, even though it really needs to flesh out some more of them. And it's overall pretty good. Like, I don't think the show will be phenomenal, but considering it's literally DanMachi 2, it's gonna get a good following pretty quickly, and probably maintain it till the end of the season. I really doubt it changed. Who the fuck did the last one? It probably was A1. Wow, this is almost an 8. JC. Oh, it's JC? Okay, so JC did season 1, and then I'm pretty sure they're gonna do season 2. I really doubt they moved it to someone else. Huh, JC actually has a pretty good track record. A lot of slice of life shows, but they did Sacroso? Oh shit, okay. That's actually pretty good. And Sword Oratoria, fuck. They have a decent track record. I'm kind of impressed by that. Those are both really good shows, go watch those. Yeah, it's JC again. It looks like it's gonna be 12 episodes, unlike DanMachi, which I believe had more. I could be wrong though. Oh, DanMachi only had 13. Okay. Thought I had more than that. Yeah, you're gonna see a lot of the same stuff because, of course, same author. Yeah, I actually can't find the source material for DanMachi. I believe, to my understanding, it is a manga first. That's as much as I know. Both of these are, but if they have anything beyond that, please leave it in the comment below because I can't find it, and I guess for record keeping we can add it to Mal or something. You're gonna see a lot of the same stuff because, of course, it's very, very similar. It's the same setting, it's the same plot. The story is literally just the same. It's just a different perspective from a lot of the plots of the first season. So, yeah, don't expect too much different. If you're looking for it to go much, much further and you're going to see Belle again, you're going to be a little disappointed because that's not what's going to happen. Which is probably why they didn't just title it Season 2, to avoid that confusion, because I guess people would be mad. I don't know. I'm kind of more impressed they got a Season 2, but I really do need to catch up to where it is in the proper show, because I'm apparently very behind, and that's not a good thing. So yeah, that's pretty much it. If you liked this, let me know.